African countries that don't recognize Christmas Day. Introduction. It is not uncommon for countries to have different cultural and religious traditions, and it is possible that some countries in Africa may not recognize Christmas Day as a public holiday. However, it is essential to note that Christmas Day is a widely celebrated holiday in many African countries and is often marked with various cultural and religious traditions. Some African countries, such as Egypt, do not recognize Christmas Day as a public holiday. However, the holiday is still celebrated by the Christian minority in the country. Christmas Day is a public holiday in other countries, such as Nigeria and Ghana. It is widely celebrated by Christians and non-Christians alike. Respecting the cultural and religious traditions of any country you visit and being mindful of local customs and practices are essential. Suppose you are planning to travel to Africa and are concerned about whether Christmas Day is recognized in a particular country. In that case, it is a good idea to research the local customs and traditions of the place you visit. Hello, welcome to another one of my exciting videos. If you love the content, please subscribe, hit the like and notification buttons, and share and comment. Did you know that not all countries out of the 55 in the African continent celebrate this day? One of these countries is Ethiopia. Surprising, Ethiopians celebrate Christmas not on December 25th but on January 7th. The Ethiopian calendar has 12 months of 30 days each, plus 5 or 6 additional days. This is sometimes known as the 13th month, which is added at the end of the year to match the calendar to the solar cycle. Unlike the Christmas you might be familiar with, the Ethiopian variety lacks tangled tinsel, red bobble hats, and flickering, multicolored lights intertwined amongst conifer branches. Ethiopian Christmas is celebrated on January 7th on the Gregorian calendar, or the 29th of Tammuz on the Ethiopian calendar. In the run-up to Christmas, practitioners are expected to partake in a 43-day fast known as Tzom Nebiut, or the Fast of the Prophets. During this period, believers must abstain from all non-vegan products and psychoactive substances, including alcohol. They can only consume one meal per day. Beginning on November 25th, the fast is believed to clear the body of sin, allowing those who partake to cleanse the spirit in anticipation of the birth of their Savior, Jesus Christ. Ethiopia, mainly the Ethiopian Orthodox Tweak Church, celebrates Christmas on January 7th, not December 25. The Ethiopian calendar has different months, and Christmas is on the 29th of Tammuz. Many other Orthodox churches around the world also celebrate Christmas on January 7th. The Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church's calendar originally came from the calendar used by the Coptic Orthodox Church, but now has its special days. The Christmas celebration in the Ethiopian Orthodox Church is called Gana or Jena. Most people go to church on Christmas Day. Many people participate in a special Advent fast 43 days before Christmas. It starts on November 25th and is known as the Fast of the Prophets or Tzom Nebiut. During this time, traditionally, only one vegan meal is eaten daily. It's a vegan meal because, during the fast, foods, including meat, dairy, eggs, and wine, aren't eaten. For Gana, people get dressed in white. Most people wear a traditional garment called a netela. It's a thin white cotton cloth with brightly colored stripes across the ends. It's worn like a shawl or toga. You might wear Western clothes if you live in a big town or city. People go to church mass on Christmas Eve, called the Gahid of Christmas, at 6 p.m., and the service finishes at about 3 a.m. on Christmas Day. The Ethiopian capital city is Addis Ababa. It's a modern city. Most people outside big cities live in round houses made of mud-plastered walls with thatched cone-shaped roofs. Sometimes homes in the country are rectangular and made of stone. The design of the Ethiopian church is similar to the houses. In the country, they are often ancient and have been carved out of rock. In cities, modern churches are built in 3 circles, each within the others. The choir sings from the outer circle. Everyone who goes to church for the Gana celebrations are given a candle. The people walk around the church 3 times in a solemn procession, holding candles. They then go to the second circle to stand during the service. The men and boys are separated from the women and girls. The center circle is the church's most important and holy place and is where the priest serves the Holy Communion or Mass. It's also a tradition that one of the wise men who visited Jesus came from Ethiopia. Around the time of Gana, the men and boys played a game called Gana. It's played with a curved stick and a round wooden ball, like hockey. Traditional Christmas foods in Ethiopia include wat, a thick and spicy stew containing meat, vegetables, and sometimes eggs. Sounds yummy. Wat is eaten on a plate of injera flatbread. Pieces of the injera are used as an edible spoon to scoop up the wat. 12 days after Gana, on January 19th, Ethiopians start the 3-day celebration of Timkit. It celebrates the baptism of Jesus. Children walk to church services in a procession. They wear the crowns and robes of the church youth groups they belong to. Adults wear the netela. The priests wear red and white robes and carry embroidered fringed umbrellas. Musical instruments are played during the Timkit procession. The sistrum is a percussion instrument with tinkling metal discs like a vertical tambourine. The macamia, a long T-shaped prayer stick, is used to keep the rhythm and by the priests as a stick to lean on during the long Timkit church service. Ethiopian men also play a sport called Euphara's Gux. It's played on horseback, and the men throw ceremonial lances at each other. Sounds rather dangerous. People don't give and receive presents during Ghana and Timkit. Sometimes children might be given a small gift of some clothes from their family members. It's more of a time for going to church, eating lots, and playing games. Santa Claus is a recent visitor to Ethiopia, only known about through Western Christmas traditions. In the Amharic language, Father Christmas or Santa Claus is called Yajina Bat, which means Christmas Father. Happy Merry Christmas in Amharic is Melekam Jina. Happy Merry Christmas in lots more languages. Algeria. As another Muslim-majority nation, Algeria has not observed Christmas in any official capacity since it gained independence from France, a primarily Catholic country, in 1962. However, the country's populations of Christian African migrants, alongside diplomats and locals, have held small celebrations. For instance, a market organized by the faith-based charity Caritas in 2017 came as a sign of stable security in a country that has rebounded from a decade of Islamist militant violence. Most Muslims don't celebrate Christmas because it doesn't simply celebrate the birth of Jesus Christ. It marks the birth of Christ as the Son of God. While Muslims accept Jesus Christ as a prophet and messenger, they do not see him as divine. They don't worship him or any of the other prophets. Somalia. Christmas will not be celebrated in Somalia for several reasons, including that all Somalis are Muslims and there is no Christian community here. Also, the government fears that Christmas and New Year celebrations could damage the faith of the Muslim community. The other reason is security. Al-Shabaab was in control of almost all of Somalia's capital, Mogadishu, in 2006 until a United Nations-backed force from the African Union pushed the militants out of the city in 2011 and out of the port of Kismayo in 2012. Although Al-Shabaab attacks have become limited in the past decade, Somalia does not hold Christmas or New Year celebrations for fear that these celebrations can evoke Islamist attacks. For instance, in 2014, the militant group's fighters attacked Christmas Day at the African Union's headquarters in Mogadishu. Therefore, the celebration of Christmas is non-existent in Somalia. Tunisia. Tunisia is an Islamic country, so basically, there's no Christmas. However, a part of the Tunisian traditions is to celebrate the New Year. But some people do celebrate it, but not for religious purposes, and it's for the warmth of it. The Christmas tree, the gifts and. Of course, people don't decorate outside their houses like in other Christian-dominated countries. Therefore, it is considered a family celebration, which means that even if many people in Tunisia celebrate Christmas, you won't see it in the streets. Overall, numerous local churches offer Mass on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. But to the locals, Christmas doesn't mean anything beyond an economic opportunity for their shops. Libya. Islam is the predominant religion in Libya, with 97% of the population associating with the faith, so celebrating Christmas is not shared. The closest holiday to the Christmas date is the anniversary of Libyan independence on December 24, 1951. Notably, the Libyan Ministry of the Interior warned citizens not to celebrate Christmas or New Year's Eve because these celebrations are not following the country's religion, Islam. Surprisingly, New Year's Eve is often wrongly perceived as a Christian festival in Islamic contexts, partly because Islam follows a different calendar with its date for New Year. Celebratory gatherings on New Year's Eve were, until recent years, commonplace among many Libyans, as much greater toleration existed of Christians celebrating Christmas. However, with the emergence of hardline Islamist politics, the government has adopted a much more restrictive stance. Egypt. Christmas in Egypt is celebrated by 15% of the population who are Christians, called Copts. But as with Orthodox Christians in countries like Russia and Serbia, even faithful Christians in Egypt do not celebrate Christmas in December. Coptic Orthodox Christians in Egypt celebrate Christmas on January 7, as the church uses the old Julian calendar for religious celebration days. From November 25 to January 6, or the 43 days of Advent, Copts fast, sticking to a vegan diet for the Holy Nativity fast. On Christmas Eve, January 6, they take Mass around 10 p.m., and most services finish shortly after midnight, though some continue until 4 a.m. Morocco. To begin with, Christmas is not a significant holiday in Morocco, as the country has a predominantly Muslim population. However, Christmas is celebrated by some people here, particularly those who are Christian or who have a Western cultural background. Conclusion. Every year, on December 25, people in Christian-majority countries celebrate Christmas. Among the standard greetings among these people is Merry Christmas. It is important to note that while Christmas may not be a public holiday in these countries, it may still be celebrated by some individuals or groups, particularly within the Christian community. Additionally, many African countries have diverse religious and cultural traditions, and Christmas may be honored alongside other holidays and festivals.